Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the third video. In this video, you're going to learn about three things essentially. We're going to look into what's called internal accountability and external accountability, and why intention is so important in what is a great achievement, a journey, a mission, that is the memorization of the Quran. And so internal accountability, we're going to go into things like, all the mechanisms that will help us in times that we really struggle. Something might pop up whilst we're memorizing. We can make plans all day long, but something might happen where it just puts our plans totally to bed. And often we don't know how to deal with that. And so we talk about these kind of things. And then the external accountability is basically systems that support the things internally. Your mental state, your physical state, your spiritual state, all these things. What's going to pull you from both ends and allow you to memorize the Quran effectively. Give you motivation, give you a means to pull you to action. That's the key thing. And then intention. That's really the key thing. How should we really be intending, and how and why should we be making intentions? Why should we keep our intentions sincere? What should our intentions be? How should we be thinking about that? And how can we really make that practical?
So, what's this image here? Can anybody tell me? It's an old image of one of my favorite places in the entire world, which I last visited maybe 5 years ago, and I'm longing to go back. It is Medina, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's old Medina. Look how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
It's still beautiful, but there's just something more natural about it back then.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm showing you this is that I want to try to visualize the scene when the companions would gather in front of the Prophet ﷺ,
Subhanallah.
right? In this natural environment of palm trees and, raw materials, branches. Because when we're thinking about internal accountability, the source for us is the hadeeth of Jibreel. And when we see that, what comes to your mind, guys? Can you write in the chat? What comes to your mind? The hadeeth of Jibreel. It's a very famous hadith, everybody knows it. Nobody? Okay, so it is Islam and what else? Iman and Ihsan.
Yes.
This is what always comes to mind. Exactly.
Yep. Thank you, Rais.
And so when we actually think about this hadith, there's many things about it that we could talk about. But essentially, these three pillars is about regulating, about controlling, about getting our thought processes around our mind, body, and soul, and keeping it in check, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is internal accountability in light of that? We're going to be concentrating on the third question that was asked. أخبرني عن الإحسان.
Yep.
Tell me about ihsan. And what was the answer? أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. That if when you are worshipping Allah,
Mm-hmm.
when you're engaged in that you are actually experiencing mushahada,
Mm-hmm.
and an experience that you're actually witnessing.
Mm-hmm.
Allah. When we testify our faith, we say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. We're witnessing Allah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. This idea of witnessing. And so our mind's present, our body is present, our soul is present. And then what's the second half of it? That if you can't do that, you engaging in trying to do so. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to use techniques, internal techniques, to try to
Mm-hmm.
do that, try to realize that. And so when we're talking about internal accountability, we're talking about internal systems.
Mm-hmm.
And to get really practical, we're talking about things that affect us in every single daily activities. So, from our preference to food, the way we deal with stress, the way we deal with hardships, the way we deal with any type of negativities or even positive things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Bilal's going to have different preferences to me.
Sure. Sure.
Like, he believes that there's some hafaz that probably can't read from Fatiha to Nas right now. I bet you there is someone, right?
Wow.
I definitely know somebody who could do that.
Subhanallah. That's amazing.
But anyway, we have a way to deal with things very
Yep.
differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so ihsan is about calling us
Mm-hmm.
to realize that. And
Mm-hmm.
to realize that, we want to ensure that we have something inside, that we can have these mechanisms, these methods, processes that we can actually um, come to terms with these kind of scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get the best possible start to realize our memorization journeys. And so the question is, in order to realize my memorization goals, what needs to be in place internally, personally, what's going to be like driving me, what's going to be motivating me, what's my strengths, what's the areas that I'm really good at, that should a situation arise that I didn't plan for,
Mm-hmm.
how am I going to deal with it? What do I do in every single daily life? Any negativity that comes, how do I address it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're going to be going into. And when we think about the human being, we've got different states that we go through. There's the mental states, our thought processes, there's emotion, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's spiritual things, there's physical elements, all these things. And the areas I want to talk about today is just stress, the mind, and the physical elements. Before that, I want to think about how we actually view things right now.
Yep.
What's our beliefs about ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
What do you hold to be truths about ourselves?
Yep.
Now, what I want to do is we want to take about 5 minutes to do this and take about a 5 minute break. Maybe some of you might need to pray, and I definitely need to do. And we'll come back and we'll hear from you what you got. So let me just explain what it is we're going to do. So you see here on the left-hand side, I've given you a little list of things that we usually hear. I'm not smart enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talented. I don't have good memory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lazy. I'm too old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a failure. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not worthy. I mean, I can tell you now, you're definitely worthy.
Yeah.
Like, if I've memorized, like, I shared a story yesterday about an 85-year-old. She memorized. She can't even read and write. She memorized the Quran, right?
Wow. Wow. Yep.
Within 7 years, right?
MashaAllah.
And it only takes 1 or 2 verses to do that each day.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And so, not being worthy, you're already worthy by virtue of being a human being.
Yeah.
Hey, you could have been a plant out there.
Yeah.
Being like,
Yeah.
you could be an insect, an animal, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah. You're a human being. But beyond that, you are from the Ummah of Rasulullah.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
You got all those Anbiya, all those prophets are envious of you. Just by virtue of that. And
Subhanallah.
so you want to write down a list that you can think of that you think to be true about yourself, and that's negative.
Uh-huh.
The left hand side and on the right hand side,
Mm-hmm.
you want to turn it into positives.
Yep.
Like you're saying, I'm too old. You want to say, age is not a barrier,
Uh-huh.
I'm not too old. There's a time to do it. Because what's important here is realizing that even if you know a verse of the Quran, a surah of the Quran, a juz of the Quran, you've done it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you want to take that and use it to motivate you to go on ahead and ahead and ahead.
External accountability, you know, needs clarity before anything.
Yep.
Before you do anything, you need clarity. What is it that you want to do? Where are you right now? Where do you want to go? And there's many versions of this analogy. There's a smart one. There's others, but this is one that is effective as well. It's called armed.
Mm-hmm.
So A stands for attainability. Is that thing attainable? R stands for real. M stands for measured. E stands for exciting. And D for dated.
Mm-hmm.
So is it armed? Is it something that's realistic? The goal that you have, is it attainable?
Uh-huh.
Like, there's somebody that's after me these days. He's I've mentioned to Bilal before, he wants to memorize in 2 months or something like that. And he keeps emailing me. And I told him, look, we've got to be realistic. Because, and then I told him, you know, what have you done so far? How, like, and he says, it's been a couple of months and I've done like 3 or 4 jobs. And I said, there you are, 2 months is gone. So don't ask me about 2 months. So, and then, you know, is it real enough? Is it something that you actually want to do?
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you don't want to memorize the whole Quran, you know, fair enough. You don't have to do that. I mean, even if you memorize Surah Baqarah,
Mm-hmm.
you're already in the 1%.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know it,
Mm-hmm.
and to do know it, they can't maintain it. So we're gonna look at that as well. And then is it measured? Like, is it something you can measure your success with? Are you achieving anything? And of course, these are things we can't do with memorizing the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
And then, is it exciting enough, you know, to make you want to actually do it? Are there systems that are motivating you to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you finding it a fun way, an enjoying manner to put a spin on what you do and how you do it? And this is possible as well with memorizing the Quran. There's methods that we can do to make it more enjoyable. Is it something that you can date? Yes. Memorizing the Quran, we can make times, we can make dates for each milestone to memorize the Quran. So we're going to talk about how we can do that. So one of the ways is something called the 90-day outcome process, 12-week strategy. So instead of us thinking of memorizing the Quran as a 1, 2, 3 year plan,
Yep.
we break it up into achievable goals.
Chunks. Yep.
Yeah. So with a 90-day system, we can apply to anything that we do, not just memorizing the Quran.
Yep.
So what you want to do is you want to have in mind that by day 90, you want to have a certain goal met. So you work backwards in 30-day chunks. And simultaneously, you've got a 12-week plan with it as well. So you've got 12 weeks, and then you've got a 30-day chunk, then the next 30 up to 60, and then the next 30 to 90. And then after that, you've made a small achievement, what a big achievement towards whatever goal it was. This is the same system I use in organizations that I run. And, you know, ultimately we have a big goal, right, in our vision. But this 90-day systems allows us to get there, and everybody knows what's going on and what we're doing during the 12 weeks and what each week's goal is. And then you just give yourself a little reward, you know, like 30 days and 60 days, 90 days, and then you get there. And then you can work out the next 90 days, you know, what might not have went well in the first 90 days, what might have fell behind, and then you just adjust it into the next 90-day chunks. And you keep going, and you eventually get to your goal.
Yep. So, for example, guys, if you want to, Kari, if I can add to this, if your goal is to memorize, for example, Surah Yasin, you see how many ayahs there are in Surah Yasin, and you know, you have, let's just say you want to do it in 90 days as an example, then break it down on a weekly basis. You know, how many ayahs would you need to memorize to finish in 90 days, which is equivalent to 12 weeks. So it's critical to not just even focus on Qari said, break it down. Like, you don't want to see Quran memorization as I want to finish this in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Focus on a particular surah, and then even more than that, focus on just achieving those weekly goals. Forget about everything else. Just being consistent at achieving your weekly goals is going to be critical, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's like Abdul Rauf's example, wasn't it? That
Yeah.
he'd got to a point where he was doing very well. He was memorizing a page a day. Like, he can easily just carry on, but he got to a point where he had so many responsibilities now, where he couldn't maintain that. And if he could maintain it, he couldn't maintain remembering it, because we've got to think about that part too, about maintaining it. And so he started to think about things, at a minimum, an ayah a day. Like, if you do an ayah a day just for Surah Yasin in this 90-day chunk, you've done the surah. You've done it even before the 90-day goal. You've done it. So it's just breaking things up like this, and then they just become a lot more achievable, and it motivates you to do it. So yeah, it's all around time management. Time is our most limited resource, and without a plan, we often waste time. We need these routines to habit, to shifting internal accounting systems. We need these processes in place, and the foundation of it is all in routines that through which we can create habits and help shift those internal things. And some of the things we're going to talk about today to do with that is tiny habits, how we can build them, the ideal week system, so how can we create a routine, and we took a little bit about what we may have already spoken about, the muhasaba, muraqaba, and gratitude systems. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that if the Quran was to be gathered inside a vessel, the heart, Allah will never punish it with the hellfire.
SubhanAllah.
If you measure this against the hadith where we learn that the heart that has nothing in it of the Quran is like a ruined house, right? We can measure against this. So in a sense, the Prophet ﷺ is saying that if the Quran is inside your heart, you've memorized it, that will become a means for you to be free from hellfire. How amazing is that? It shows us the greatness of it. And then Khabab bin al-Arat, he was amongst the first 10 people to enter Islam. He said that to draw near to Allah as much as you can, and the best way to do that is through the most beloved thing to him, his words, the Quran itself. And so it's not only a means to draw away from hellfire, but a means to draw near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and thereby his garden as well. May Allah make us amongst them people. So after that, a little motivation for all of us, and that is also connected to these ahadith, a incident that was told to me by my father, and that is that he related about a dream that somebody had, and in the dream there was a person reciting the Quran in the grave, and he was enveloped in light, completely covered in light. And when he was asked, "Oh Muhammad, what did you do that Allah has granted you such mercy in your grave?" He said, "Allah bestowed me with this favor because I had memorized the Quran."
Wow.
And then the one asking noticed the window near him and said, "Tell me what that window is. What's going on here?" And he said, "Let me show you." Then he opened the window and said, "Look at paradise. Through this window, I received this view and the scent of paradise." This is a person who memorized the Quran. If that's the state you could have in the grave, then what are the bounties, favors, and the mercy that Allah will have outside of the grave, outside the barzakh.
Wow.
Allah grant us His goodness here and hereafter. I mean, Ya Rabbal Alameen. And so, clarity of intention. Why is it so important? Well, we break it down to two parts. One to do with hafaz, and two to do with our journey itself throughout life. So the successful hafaz, they, without any doubt, they are always clear on what they exactly want to achieve and why they have that. And it might differ person to person, because ultimately everybody's journey is personal and there's personal goals to be had. And so this requires a certain mindset. And it's from asking yourself, what is my purpose in becoming a hafiz or a hafizah, to saying, what are my objectives for memorizing for my Islam, my deen and my life? So rather than saying, somebody asks you, oh, why did you start memorizing? Why are you memorizing the Quran? And you say, well, because I was told to, or, because I'm doing it for my parents. These are the normal things that we tend to hear. But instead, if you give a response like saying, well, I'm memorizing such and such a surah right now, like, forget about the whole Quran, but I'm doing such and such a surah right now because I'm in this situation in my deen at the moment and in my life, and it applies to me in this certain way. And just look at the impact not only it'll have on you, but the person that asked the question, and it'll completely change their perspective even.
Awesome.
Because we remember, it's not a race. Memorizing is not a race or a marathon. Those that have been in a madrasa environment will appreciate what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, definitely.
This race mentality, it's a journey for life. And unfortunately, students are not taught this. They're not taught this. They just see it like a means to get out of the system, get out of the madrasa. Once I'm done, I'm finished.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's the same with those that are not memorizing as well. They go to the madrasa, they go to the teachers, they learn how to read, and then they might read the full Quran, and then after that, okay, I'm done now. And for the rest of their lives, don't read. And so the memorizer should be asking himself or herself, what are my goals? What are the Quran goals that bring the greatest joy and benefit to me? What does achieving this goal look like? What tasks need to happen in order for that to actually come to life? Why am I doing it? How will my life improve after I've done that? What am I personally going to do with the accomplishment after I've done it? What am I going to do?
So I hope that was beneficial for you. We talked about internal, external, the greatness of memorization, and why intention is so important. And in the next video, we're going to go into a bit more on the actual memorization methodologies and revision strategies. Look forward to seeing you there. Do leave a comment if you enjoyed this and what you learned the most. Assalamu alaikum.